Hello, my friend. I'm glad you're here. If you've ever felt like losing weight just gets harder with every birthday, you're not alone. I've worked with older adults for over 20 years now, and I've seen this pattern again and again. Folks who are eating less than they did in their 40s, walking more than they used to, and yet somehow the scale won't budge. Or worse, it creeps up. Have you ever wondered why that happens? Let me ask you something. Did you know that your ability to burn fat is directly controlled by a hormone called insulin? It surprised me too, back when I first started learning about it in practice. Not just from textbooks, but from working with real people like you. You see, insulin is often thought of as the blood sugar hormone. But what many people don't realize is that it also acts like a fat storage switch. When insulin is high, your body stores fat. When insulin is low, your body is finally free to burn fat. It's that simple, and yet most of us are never told this. And here's the kicker. As we get older, our bodies often become more resistant to insulin. That means we're producing more of it, more often. And that's one big reason why it gets harder to shed fat, even if we're doing all the right things. So in today's video, I want to walk with you through this topic, gently, clearly, and show you how understanding insulin could be the missing piece of your health puzzle. You deserve to know what's really going on in your body. Let's get started. Let me start with something I've heard over and over again in my practice. Doc, I don't eat that much. I skip breakfast, I've cut down on sweets, but I'm still gaining weight. What am I doing wrong? It breaks my heart when I hear that, because so often the answer isn't that they're doing anything wrong. It's that they're doing what they were taught, but the information they were given was incomplete, or even, frankly, outdated. When I first began working in healthcare over 20 years ago, the focus was almost entirely on calories in, calories out. If you're gaining weight, they'd say, it's because you're eating more than you burn. Simple math. But the human body is not a math problem. It's a beautifully complex system. And the more I worked with real people, especially older adults, the more I began to realize the weight story isn't just about calories. It's about hormones. And one hormone in particular plays the lead role in whether your body is burning fat or storing it like it's preparing for a long winter. That hormone is insulin. Now, before your eyes glaze over, don't worry. I'm not going to throw a bunch of medical jargon at you. I want to explain this the way I do in my office, sitting across the table from someone's grandmother or grandfather. Because the truth is, once you understand what insulin really does, a lot of things start making sense. The hidden role of insulin. You might know insulin as the diabetes hormone. It helps lower your blood sugar, right? And that's true, it does. But that's not its only job. One of insulin's lesser-known but absolutely critical functions is fat storage. Think of insulin as a gatekeeper. When you eat, your body breaks down the food, especially carbohydrates, into glucose or sugar. That sugar enters your bloodstream, and insulin's job is to help it move out of your blood and into your cells where it can be used for energy. Sounds good so far, right? But here's the catch. When insulin levels are high, your body goes into storage mode. That means it's not just moving sugar into cells, it's also sending a strong signal that says, don't burn fat right now. We've got fuel in the system. Let's store any extra energy for later. Now imagine if that insulin signal is being sent all day long. Because you're eating frequently, or eating a lot of processed carbs that spike your blood sugar. Your body never gets the green light to burn fat. It's always storing. Even if you're not eating more than usual, even if you're walking every day. That's what I started to see in my older patients. They weren't overeating. They were eating in a way that kept their insulin levels elevated without even knowing it. Why this gets worse with age. Now here's where it gets even trickier. As we age, our cells become more resistant to insulin. This is known as insulin resistance, and it's incredibly common in older adults, even those who have never been diagnosed with diabetes. It's like your cells are getting hard of hearing. Insulin knocks at the door, but the cells don't respond as quickly. So your body makes more insulin to get the job done. Over time, you end up with chronically elevated insulin levels, even if your blood sugar still looks normal on a lab test. That means the storage mode switch is stuck in the ON position. One of my patients, a 68-year-old retired school teacher named Margaret, came to me frustrated and nearly in tears. She'd been eating oatmeal with fruit every morning, just like she was told was healthy. She had a salad for lunch, some whole wheat pasta at dinner, and she rarely touched dessert. But her belly fat wouldn't budge. When we looked closer, we saw the pattern. She was having 6 insulin spikes a day, just from her meals and snacks. Her body never had a chance to rest from insulin's signal to store fat. When we gently adjusted her meals and eating schedule to allow insulin to drop in between, something amazing happened. Her energy returned. Her weight began to shift, and most importantly, she felt in control again. The calorie myth, why eat less, move more, doesn't always work. One of the most frustrating things I hear is when people are told to just eat less and move more. Now don't get me wrong, movement is good and being mindful of how much we eat matters. But I've seen people cut calories to the bone, go for long walks every day and still struggle. And the reason is simple. If insulin is high, your body will not access stored fat for energy, no matter how few calories you eat. It's like having a full tank of gas in your car, but the key won't turn in the ignition. The fuel is there, but your body can't tap into it. I once worked with a retired Navy veteran named Joe. He was eating 1,200 calories a day, mostly low-fat, low-sugar foods, and walking 3 miles every morning. But his waistline kept growing. Turns out Joe was having 6 small meals a day, something he'd read was good for boosting metabolism. But every time he ate, even if it was just a handful of crackers or a yogurt, his insulin spiked. His body never had a chance to switch into fat-burning mode. We made one simple change, reducing his meal frequency to just 2 meals a day built around whole, low-carb foods. Within weeks, he started losing belly fat for the first time in years, not because he was eating fewer calories, but because his insulin had a chance to come down. Common mistakes that keep insulin high. Here are some of the most common mistakes I see, many of which are made with the best of intentions. Frequent snacking, every snack, even healthy ones like granola bars or fruit smoothies, causes insulin to rise. The more often you eat, the more often insulin goes up. Overeating carbohydrates, whole wheat bread, brown rice, and oatmeal still raise blood sugar significantly. These healthy carbs can keep insulin high, especially in insulin-resistant adults. Low-fat diets, fat doesn't raise insulin much, but when people cut fat, they often replace it with more carbs, which do. Eating late at night, insulin sensitivity drops in the evening, so late-night eating tends to spike insulin even more and leads to more fat storage. Too much stress, cortisol, your stress hormone, can make insulin resistance worse. Chronic stress, like caregiving, financial worries, or sleep deprivation, quietly sabotages your efforts. It's not your fault, you were never told. If any of this sounds familiar, please know this, it's not your fault. Most of us were never told how insulin works. We were taught to fear fat, avoid skipping meals, and eat light foods. The food industry and even public health messaging have pushed carb-heavy eating for decades. And to be honest, I didn't understand it fully myself until I saw it play out in real people's lives. No one taught us this in school. But once you learn how insulin truly works, you start to see that stubborn fat isn't a moral failing. It's not about willpower. It's about hormones, and the good news is you can gently teach your body to respond differently. You don't have to fight your biology. You just need to understand it. So what can we do about it? Now that we've laid the foundation, in the next part of this video, I'll share exactly what you can start doing today. Simple, natural strategies that help lower insulin gently, without gimmicks or starvation. Because your body isn't broken. It's just been overwhelmed by mixed messages, confusing habits, and modern foods that weren't designed with your health in mind. But it's never too late to turn that around. I've seen people in their 70s and 80s transform their energy, waistline, and health simply by understanding how insulin works and making small but powerful changes. And I want the same for you. So let's keep going. In all my years working with older adults, one truth has remained constant. When people finally understand what's really happening inside their bodies, they stop blaming themselves, and they start healing. That's why I want to go a little deeper with you today. I want to share not just the science, but also the human side. The real stories, the quiet victories, and yes, even the setbacks. Because I believe that's how we truly learn. Let me begin with a story I will never forget. George's wake-up call. George was 72 when he came to see me. A former truck driver, strong as an ox in his younger days, but now, as he put it, I'm carrying a spare tire I never ordered. He was on medication for blood pressure, borderline diabetic, and constantly tired, even though he swore he was eating healthier than ever. He'd switched to whole grain bread, fruit smoothies, and low-fat yogurt. He was doing everything the magazines said to do, but his belly kept growing. And more importantly, he just didn't feel like himself anymore. When I asked George about his day-to-day eating, it looked something like this. A banana and oatmeal in the morning, a protein smoothie mid-morning, a sandwich and apple for lunch, a granola bar around 3 p.m. grilled chicken with brown rice for dinner, maybe some low-fat pudding before bed. That's 6 meals or snacks, most of them carb-heavy, even if the carbs were healthy. I gently explained to George that every time he ate, especially carbohydrates, his insulin spiked. He looked at me a bit stunned and asked, "Wait, you're saying my banana is making me fat?" I smiled and said, "Not just the banana, George, but the fact that your body never gets a break from insulin." So we tried something radical, not by cutting calories, but by shifting how and when he ate. We moved him to 2 meals a day. We focused on real whole foods, things like eggs, leafy greens, fish, avocado. We replaced the constant snacking with herbal tea and light movement. 3 months later, George had lost 18 pounds. Not because he was starving, but because his body had finally been allowed to do what it was designed to do. But more than the weight, it was the light in his eyes that struck me. He felt alive again. "Doc," he said, "I didn't know I could feel this good at 72. Why small changes matter more than you think. A lot of people think change has to be big to be effective. That's simply not true. Especially as we age, small, consistent changes matter far more than drastic ones. When I first talk to older adults about insulin, they sometimes feel overwhelmed, like they need to flip their whole life upside down to get results. But here's the truth. The body is incredibly forgiving. Even after decades of poor eating habits, even with chronic conditions, you can still see remarkable improvement just by making a few intentional adjustments. The trick is to understand which changes make the biggest difference, and insulin management is one of them. Let me give you a real-world example. Maria and the myth of healthy snacks. Maria was 66, recently retired, and spent her days gardening and watching her grandkids. She came to me not for weight loss, but because of low energy and frequent dizziness in the afternoons. Her doctor had checked her heart. Everything looked fine. Blood work showed she was borderline diabetic, but nothing urgent. When we sat down, she showed me her snack stash: rice cakes, fruit cups, low-fat granola, and sugar-free candy, all marketed as healthy, all sending insulin into overdrive, especially when consumed every few hours. We swapped those snacks out, not with celery sticks and nothing else, but with real food: some boiled eggs, a handful of nuts, or a slice of turkey rolled with a bit of cheese. Her dizziness stopped within 2 weeks. Why? Because her blood sugar stopped crashing and her insulin began to level out. No meds, no magic pills, just awareness and a few better choices. The emotional side of insulin resistance. Now I want to pause here for a moment and acknowledge something we don't talk about enough: the emotional toll of stubborn weight and fatigue, especially in older adults. So many people I meet feel ashamed. They feel like their bodies have betrayed them, or worse, that they've let themselves go. And nothing could be further from the truth. You've been surviving. You've been caring for others, working hard, doing your best with the information you had. If no one ever explained insulin to you, how could you possibly know? That's why I spend as much time on compassion as I do on nutrition. Insulin resistance is not a personal failure. It's a natural response to years of eating patterns that our modern world pushes on us. Patterns our ancestors never had to deal with. The good news: this can change, and the change starts with understanding, learning from our ancestors they knew without knowing. When I teach about food and hormones, I often say this: our ancestors didn't count calories. They didn't snack every 2 hours. They ate real food when it was available, and they moved their bodies all day long. It wasn't a diet. It was life. Today, we've replaced whole food with packaged snacks. We've traded walking and gardening for screens and chairs. And we wonder why our energy crashes, our waistlines grow, and our doctors add more pills each year. But you don't need to go live in a cave to reclaim balance. You just need to borrow a few habits from the past. Eat fewer times per day. Let your body rest between meals. Choose food that would look familiar 200 years ago: unprocessed, simple, nourishing. Move often, even gently. A few minutes here and there adds up. These changes lower insulin. And when insulin drops, fat burning turns back on, breaking the fear of fat. One of the biggest mental hurdles I see in older adults is the lingering fear of fat. For decades, we were told that fat was the enemy. Butter was bad. Bacon would kill you. Eggs were to be eaten sparingly. Now we know that natural fats don't spike insulin and can actually help stabilize blood sugar and reduce cravings. But that fear runs deep. I had one patient, Edna, 75 years old, who couldn't bring herself to add avocado to her salad because she'd been told for 40 years that fat was dangerous. It took time, but once she gave it a try and saw how full she felt, how her afternoon sugar cravings vanished, she became a believer. So let me say it plainly. White heavy checkmark real fats like olive oil, avocados, nuts, and animal fats from pasture-raised sources are not the enemy. Cross-mark processed sugars and refined starches, those are the real culprits behind the insulin spike and stubborn fat. From knowledge to confidence. As we wrap up this part of our journey, I want to leave you with one powerful thought. When you understand insulin, you stop feeling like a victim of your body and start feeling like a partner in your own healing. I've seen people go from despair to hope in a matter of weeks, not because they lost 50 pounds overnight, but because they finally understood why their body was holding on to weight. And when they made gentle, consistent changes based on that understanding, the weight came off. The energy returned. The sparkle came back. Not every case is dramatic, but even small improvements, less fatigue, fewer cravings, more confidence, make a world of difference. And that's why I believe so deeply in sharing this message. In the next part of this video, I'll give you practical, specific steps you can take, simple actions, foods, and daily habits to lower insulin naturally and unlock your body's ability to burn fat again. You don't need a fad, you don't need willpower, you just need to give your body the right message, and that journey continues now. Now that we've unpacked the why behind stubborn fat and the critical role insulin plays, let's talk about something more empowering, what we can actually do about it, safely, gently, and naturally. Let me begin by telling you what I always say to my patients. You don't have to overhaul your life overnight. Just start with one good step, then another. Your body will respond. And after 20+ years of working with people just like you, wonderful, wise individuals in their 60s, 70s, and beyond, I've seen what truly works. 1. Eat less often, not less food. One of the most powerful shifts you can make is simply to stop grazing all day long. We grew up in a culture that told us to eat 3 square meals plus snacks to keep our metabolism up. But that's outdated advice. Instead, aim for 2 nourishing meals a day, or even just 1 meal and a light snack if that feels right for your body. This gives insulin time to drop between meals, which is the only time your body has permission to burn stored fat. If the idea of skipping meals sounds scary, don't worry, you're not starving yourself. You're training your body to become efficient again, to become fat-adapted, as we say. It may take a couple of weeks, but once your insulin calms down, your energy becomes smoother, and your hunger becomes honest, not driven by blood sugar crashes. Speech balloon, but what if I get shaky when I skip breakfast? That's a common concern. It usually means your body's still dependent on sugar. We'll address that with the next step. 2. Prioritize healthy fats and protein over carbs. When you do eat, make it count. Focus your plate on foods that don't spike insulin. Cut of meat, clean protein like eggs, wild fish, grass-fed meats. Leafy green non-starchy vegetables. Leafy greens, cauliflower, zucchini, mushrooms. Avocado, healthy fats. Olive oil, avocado, coconut oil, nuts. These foods help your body stay calm. No roller coaster of blood sugar, no insulin spike. They also keep you fuller for longer, making it much easier to go hours without snacking. On the flip side, limit, or ideally eliminate, foods like white bread, pastries, sugary cereals, soda, and anything labeled low-fat. These are insulin's best friends and your fat burning's worst enemies. Let me give you a simple rule I tell my older clients. Brain, if your grandparents didn't eat it growing up, your pancreas probably doesn't like it either. 3. Whole foods from nature, not from a factory. Let's keep it simple. If it grew from the ground, swam in the sea, or walked the earth 100 years ago, it probably belongs on your plate. But if it came in a box, has more than 5 ingredients, or contains things you can't pronounce, it likely doesn't serve your health. Even something as small as swapping margarine for real butter, or white rice for cauliflower rice, can start to nudge your insulin response in the right direction. When in doubt, choose whole, minimally processed food. Not only does it support your metabolism, it helps digestion, mental clarity, and long-term energy. 4. Reintroduce gentle movement into your daily rhythm. Now, I know not everyone can go out and walk 10,000 steps a day. And you don't have to, but moving your body, even in small ways, helps reduce insulin resistance and encourages fat burning. The goal isn't to run marathons. It's to signal your body that you're still alive, still thriving, still vibrant. Start where you are, stand up and stretch every hour. Do light housework or gardening, walk around your neighborhood or even inside your home. Use light resistance bands while seated to keep joints limber. Remember, your body wants to move, and every gentle motion reminds your metabolism to stay awake. But I have arthritis. Yes, and I completely understand. Just do what's comfortable. Even 10 minutes of chair exercises or water aerobics can work wonders. 5. Manage stress, the hidden driver of fat gain. One of the most overlooked factors in fat storage is chronic stress. When we stay in a constant state of worry or overthinking, our body produces cortisol, which interferes with insulin and tells the body to hold on to fat, especially around the belly. It's not about eliminating stress completely, that's not realistic, but we can change how we respond to it. A few calming habits that work beautifully, especially for older adults. Deep breathing before meals, gentle walks in nature, prayer or quiet reflection, listening to calming music, avoiding TV news overload, laughing more. Yes, laughter truly helps regulate hormones. I had a client named George, a retired veteran in his late 60s. He didn't change much about his diet at first, but he began doing 5 minutes of deep breathing each morning and cut back on evening news. His sleep improved, his cravings went down. Within a month, his belly had softened and his energy improved, all from changing how he carried stress. 6. Replenish electrolytes naturally. As your body begins to burn fat and lower insulin, it may flush out excess water. That's a good sign, but it can also deplete important minerals like sodium, magnesium, and potassium. This is why some people feel tired, foggy, or dizzy when they begin eating fewer carbs. To support your body, add a pinch of sea salt to your water. Eat leafy greens, nuts, and avocado. Consider natural mineral-rich bone broth. You can even sip on a homemade electrolyte drink. Test tube mix water plus pinch of sea salt plus squeeze of lemon plus magnesium drops. Optional. This simple step can make the transition smoother and help avoid that dreaded low-carb flu. Final thought. Go gently, but go consistently. I want to leave you with a truth I've seen over and over again. It's never too late to teach your body a new way to thrive. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to follow a strict diet. You just need to understand how your body works and then start treating it with care and respect. Fat burning is not about willpower. It's about hormone balance, and insulin is the key player. By eating whole foods, resting between meals, managing stress, and gently moving your body, you can encourage insulin to quiet down, which opens the door for fat to be used as fuel again. So don't rush. Trust your body. It's incredibly wise, and it hasn't forgotten how to heal. In the next part of the video, we'll tie it all together with a gentle recap and encouragement you can carry into your daily life. Let's keep going. Your health journey is just beginning. As we come to the close of this conversation, I want to remind you that managing weight and improving your health is a journey, not a race. It's perfectly okay to take things one small step at a time. Remember, your body has an incredible ability to heal and adapt, even as we grow older. Understanding the role of insulin is a game changer. By giving your body the right signals through balanced meals, mindful eating habits, gentle movement, and stress management, you can unlock the door to burning fat naturally and feeling more energetic throughout your day. I encourage you to be patient and kind with yourself. Change doesn't happen overnight, but with consistency and care, the results will come. And you are never alone on this path. I'm here with you, sharing knowledge and encouragement every step of the way. If you found this video helpful, please consider subscribing to Senior Superfoods TV. Together, we will explore more ways to support your health and well-being naturally. Thank you for spending this time with me. Here's to your continued vitality and happiness.